Welcome back to Premier League Friday. The man there, Benjamin S6sko, is Man United's new super sub. So is it time for him to start? This week, Diogo Dalot sat down with our reporter Dan Khan to discuss S6sko's goals, as well as the impact of Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo.
With the likes of Bryan Mbeumo, Benjamin S6sko, Matheus Cunha, feels like they're all thriving, wearing that red shirt. What do you think has set them apart, maybe from other players you've seen at your time at the club?
Obviously, the first thing is always the quality. If they weren't quality players, they wouldn't sign for the club. But then, for you to be at Man United, for you to stay here for a long time, you need something else. And the biggest advantage, obviously, for Bryan and Cunha was they already knew the league. They already been playing England for a long time, so you could see straight away it was playing the game was a little bit easier for them. And then you can see now Ben is a really good mentality person, so he already knows that he needs to work really hard to be at this level. And you can see the differences, and you can feel when a player goes to the bench what type of profile he is. If he comes on 5 minutes, if he comes on 2 minutes, if he comes on 15, how does he react? Even if scoring goals the next game he goes to the bench again, how do you react? And this is insights of big players, in my opinion. And he's still a young player, so he knows that he needs to work hard. He needs to work really hard. And I'm very happy that it's being like this, because we also need players that have that type of mentality. Not just starting games, but I'm pretty sure that he will play plenty of games.
Dan Khan with Diogo Dalot there. Lads, he really is a super sub. And you look at the goals that he's scoring, there's some seriously important ones. I mean, Sid, for you, is it time for S6sko to start?
Yeah, look, confidence has turned. Since Michael Carrick's gone in there, everyone's got a spring in their step, but the goals that we see there, I mean, like,
There's 6 in his last 7 as well.
Yeah, really, really good. And you can see the turn as well. You can see him when he comes on. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to come on, I'm going to make an impact. I mean, this one here, he literally just look at the bottom of the screen, afterburners on. And what I love about this is he's still got a lot of time to that when that pass comes across, that's going to feel like an eternity to get to him. So he picks his spot. That could easily go 3-4 months ago over the bar or just wide. Now he's picking spots, he's hitting the target. It's really good to see.
I was going to say, as a player, to actually score, I mean, on telly as a fan, you look at it and go, oh, it's just him and the goalkeeper, he hits it. But as you say there, it feels like an eternity. And does it change your view on his mentality, maybe, that he's picked his spot and he's gone with it?
That's it, the confidence. Confidence in any player is huge. As a striker, more so. Because like there, you don't just go to hit the target, where I think beforehand he was probably happy to, just be on target and make the keeper save it. Yeah. Now he's pinpointing exactly where he wants to go, just inside the post. Like I said there, that one there that rolls across, you read the headlines before it comes, it's one of them where it takes ages, but there he just knows exactly what he's doing, head over the ball, as basic as it sounds, but top footballers it can get away from you sometimes, whereas now he's in really, really good form.
It's a tough one though, Julian, because he's great coming off the bench and getting those goals. So what do you do?
So I think the Mbeumo as number 9 worked well in some games, especially City away, Arsenal away, because of the space you're going to get. And as we saw in the last 2 games, the Everton one and the West Ham one before, Mbeumo as a 9 in those kind of games where the opposition leave you the ball and play quite deep, doesn't work out. And actually, the 2 assists that Mbeumo gave is one S6sko is on, and that's when United scored the 2 goals. So for me, in a game like that against Crystal Palace this weekend, where you would expect Palace to be a bit like that, play Mbeumo on the right, bench Ahmad, it's okay, he can come off the bench, and then start S6sko up front, have Cunha on the left, Bruno as a 10, detecting the play. And then that's probably, for me, the best setup for a game like this.
Yeah, I will say, for me, as a fan watching football, I think the biggest difference that I've seen in Michael Carrick's version of Man United and the standout player has been Sen Lammens. I think he's been fantastic, because I think he's just doing the basics, and it's what almost Man United have been crying out for from one of their goalkeepers. I mean, and when you look at it, £18.2 million for Lammens, do you think he's looking like one of the bargains of the season?
Yeah, and I think we were on the show together here when he just signed, and we had somebody.
Schwarzer.
Yes, exactly.
Talk about his positioning. Yeah.
And we said he was very promising in Belgium. They've got high hopes for him, really, to at some point replace Courtois for the national team. Even he only had 1 year playing as a pro in the first team at Antwerp, and that was it. But he had great qualities, especially on crosses like that. And on those corners I know we will talk about corners later on, but he was outstanding really to make himself like getting those balls and punching those balls out, and he was perfect. And I think he's even getting better, and he will get better as the season goes on once he understands the scale of the club and everything, and he's in the right mindset. He will get better and better.
As ever with Man United, there's always a lot of talk about the ownership and always a lot of noise around Ineos. But do you have to kind of give them their flowers for their transfer business? Because, I mean, it's looking like really smart business. You know, there were moments where they were talking about Amorim wanted Emi Martinez and they've gone with someone like Lamens. Are they getting it right now? And those decisions that looked strange are now coming to fruition.
Yeah, I don't know about Sid, but for me, the Lamens one, Cunha and Bomo, they were always going to improve. They're really good Premier League players. So you paid maybe a little bit over the top, but they were good signings. S6sko is a bit more of a gamble a bit because he's still very young and comes from the Bundesliga. But Lamens is the really one that they find, I think. And funny enough, I think he would have gone to Aston Villa if United had bought Emi Martinez. Yeah. Because Villa also identified him as a really good prospect. So for Lamens, well done, really, that's a good one.
I know Carrick's tested a lot of their mentality side of it. He's built this siege mentality to go, everyone outside this football club is here to shoot us down. Like, we know what we've got in this dressing room, who's going to stand up and knows what it takes to wear a Man United jersey, especially at Old Trafford or away from home, and have the bullets come and fire. Yeah. And they're certainly stepping up for that, especially the new signings as well.
They look like they're fighting. You know, even Cunha at the end of that game was really, defending, giving it big to the crowd. Yeah. So, different United. But that United faced Crystal Palace on Sunday, and the dramas around that club continue with Oliver Glasner seeing out his contract ahead of a confirmed departure in the summer. They're definitely looking over their shoulder in the Premier League as well. But despite the unease around Selhurst Park, they've now moved into the last 16 of the Conference League. Looking at Palace, is Europe a little bit of a blessing or is it a curse? Because they could watch their form in the league slip because they're getting further and further.
They can't go down really from the Premier League.
No,
they will finish around where they are now. Yeah. I think the big aim has to go and win this Conference League, which I think they can. Yeah. The draw was good for them today, Larnaca in the last 16, but then the half of the draw where they are can mean that I think they can look forward and potentially they are probably the best team in that competition, to be fair, to go all the way. And I know it's difficult with Glasner. I don't like what he says. I don't like his communication lately. I don't like his press conference. If you're not happy, just go. You don't have to wait until May. You can go now on your own. So I think there's tension there for sure, but they still have the best squad in this competition to win it.
Do you think he sees out the season?
I don't think he should, but I think he will. Yeah.
You do. I mean, it's been. Sid, what have you made of the Palace's trajectory since? If you go back to that FA Cup final and Community Shield and things like that,
everything was great, didn't it?
Yeah.
I know a lot of Palace fans, living not far from the area as well, and they honestly 4 weeks ago they loved him, absolutely loved him, and all of a sudden the relationships really become sort of fracas. I respect what he does because he says he wears his heart on his sleeve and he says, look, I say what I say and that's how I am, that's my makeup. But you just feel as though where they were and where they are now, he's had to deal with a lot as well. But I'm exactly the same as Jules there. The communication's just not been right, and it could be done in a different way. The Palace fans have loved Europe. Got to say that they've loved travelling. They've loved that experience. Team that's not going to get relegated. It's all great for the football club at the minute, but it just feels like where they were to now, it's just sort of dampered down a little bit.
Do you think for them it's keep Glasner because of those European places and just let the league kind of do what it does?
What, to the end of the season?
Yeah. Because there's a lot of Palace fans going, get him out, we want someone new, come in.
Banners at the home game against Wolves.
Exactly. But realistically, he's doing the job in Europe, and this is a great chance for them.
Yeah, I think he sees it out to the end. And as well, if he goes, you don't want to rush into... Palace are a real established Premier League football club now. They're in a good position, they're in a good place, a healthy place. If they're looking for a new manager, which they obviously are behind the scenes, is that going to be when the season's done? Is that manager at a club already? Then they've had discussions and it's going to come in, and they've got to tread a real fine line, because we've seen with clubs beforehand that make real rash decisions, it can quickly sort of escalate.
Absolutely. Well, you can see Man United against Palace on Super Sunday. Coverage of that starts at 1 o'clock.
to the Premier League show. Our chief correspondent, Carly Solokol, has joined me and Jimmy now. We're going to focus on Manchester United. 16 out of 18 points on the pitch under that man there, Michael Carrick, and some new financial results. Were pretty good today, yes?
Well, I mean, it depends whether you're a pessimist or an optimist.
Always the optimist. I think you'll find me and Jimmy. Thank you.
Do you want this sort of glass half full?
Half full always.
Well, I think there's reason to be cautiously optimistic about these latest financial figures. You can make a case for saying that Jim Ratcliffe has administered some, bad medicine to Manchester United. It needed to be done, and now these figures show that there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Having said all that, the numbers overall are down because United are not playing in Europe at the moment. But for some clubs, not being in Europe would be a financial disaster. But obviously Manchester United are still, one of the biggest clubs in the world. They do still bring in a lot of money. They have managed to turn a loss into a profit of £32 million. Their revenues for the 6 months to the end of last December were down from £341 million to £330 million. That's basically because they're not in Europe, they're not in the Champions League. Commercial revenue, as you would expect, is down 7% because a lot of their deals with partners are affected by the fact that they're not playing in the Champions League. Broadcast revenue is up 1% compared to the same 3 months a year previously. I think that is that's because they weren't doing that well a year previously, and broadcast contracts have gone up, and maybe they've had more live games on. And also, being higher up in the Premier League means they're going to get a lot more money from the Premier League this summer. So, for instance, if you are 15th compared to being 5th, that is a difference of £30 million, roughly, that you get in the summer. Each place in the Premier League is worth around £3 million. And match day income is down about £3 million, down to £75 million. That is because they played 5 fewer games at Old Trafford. The one thing I would say is a lot of people joke about Old Trafford and the fact that apparently the roof is leaking. But if you look
saw it with our own eyes, didn't we, once?
Well, look at the accounts of all 20 Premier League clubs. No club in the Premier League makes more money on match day than Manchester United. Even though they're out of the Champions League, they still make a phenomenal amount of money every time they play at home.
Obviously, they've received, Ratcliffe and Ineos has received plenty of criticism. Do you feel, though, that they are getting their recruitment right in recent years? Lamins, Cunha, Mbeumo and S6sko as well.
I'll leave the sort of I'll leave the football analysis to Jimmy, but the financial analysis when it comes to recruitment is the wage bill for the final 3 months last year was down 9%. to £75 million. So that just shows their new strategy of moving out some of the players who were earning big money and replacing them with people on more sensible contracts. That seems to be paying off. Having said that, Manchester United's overall debt is still almost £1.3 billion.
Gosh.
£480 million of that is the debt that the Glazer family put on the club when they bought Manchester United 20 years ago. £295 million is a revolving credit facility. That's a kind of credit card for daily running costs.
290.
It's a nice credit card, isn't it?
Yeah, nice credit card.
Rather large.
It's platinum. And they also owe around £500 million on outstanding transfer fees as well. So I think they are getting recruitment right, but they're still paying the price of getting recruitment wrong for a long time.
If we look at the recruitment, those 4 players, in particular Lamins, £18.2 million. Is he the bargain of the season, do you think?
It looks like it.
Yeah, it does.
He looks solid. He looks calm. He looks everything that you want a top goalkeeper to be. He's not flamboyant. He's not looking for work. What I like, he waits until work comes to him. Good hands. does the simple things right, and and that gives the back four confidence, you know. And it's in the past has been a little bit different. So, and it's only cost them 18 million quid. So, for nowadays, that's very cheap.
It's a drop in the ocean, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you believe we're saying 18 million quid is a drop in the ocean? But anyway, Carvy's going to stay with us. We're going to continue this chat after the break. We're also going to look ahead to the summer and plans for the new long-term manager at Old Trafford. Welcome back to the Premier League show. We were chatting about Manchester United before the break. I want to continue it because, it is about the process and what they're doing now and how they're going forward. Ruben Amorim wanted the likes of Emi Martinez and Ollie Watkins last summer. They ended up buying Lamins and S6sko and actually looked like really good recruits. So do you feel that like the days of paying for big money for older players like the Casemiras of this world, do you think those days are long gone and should they be long gone, or is there...
I don't think that they will be long gone, because you need those kind of players as well, you know, in your team, in your squad, for experience, and that's how younger players they learn. But you have to get the right ones that are not coming to retire at your club. They're coming still to win. They are still hungry. They still want to win things. And they want to be part of something, you know, really, really good.
Have they got the right characters there?
Well, Casemiro has always been a really good character, but he always needed somebody really close around him, to be able to operate. He has now got two players around him. He's got Meno and he's got Bruno, you know. So, and they're playing a different game, and they are more compact defensively, and when they attack as well. So, it's easier for him. And then you see his experience. Then he can read the game. Then he can protect the back four, and then you see also what his strengths are. But when your game is stretched and you have only two midfielders there and you're getting counter-attacked all the time, it's not the quickest, and he has to cover a lot of space, then you see his limitations, you know? And I think that's the difference at the moment with Man United. They're so much more compact. They have got a base. They have got an organisation. I'm not saying that they didn't have an organisation with Amorim. They had an organisation with Amorim, but they couldn't commit that many people forward quick enough.
Yeah.
Now you see a lot more people going forward to score goals, but also you see them quick behind the ball and hard to beat. So the game, the goal against Everton is a great example, you know, where they counter-attack, they win the ball in their own half, and with one pass they are forward, they run forward, but then somebody is there to connect with that player that is forward, you know, and they end up scoring. That didn't happen enough with Amorim, and that's for me is a big difference.
So would you stick with him? If he does this well as he's done already, till the end of the summer, you stick with him, don't you? You don't go for the big name manager.
I only stick with him if your idea is, okay, if he has a bad spell, I still stick with him. I still stick with him, and I let everybody know that, yes, he's got our backing, and we're going to do everything in our power to give him the time to get this club back to where it should be. Okay. But if he's going to have a little blip, what can happen? Happens to everybody, happens to the best. Not straight away panic, you know?
Yeah.
Then I would say, yeah, do it, because what he has done really smart, he's put a very experienced man with him in Steve Holland, and you could see Steve Holland's print straight away there. You know, they're solid. They play from an organisation, and I think Carrick has done that really, really smart.
Yeah, you love Steve Holland, don't you?
He's a good football man. It's not about loving. He's a good football man. He knows
but you
what
know
he's.
him well.
I know him well. He knows what I'm. Of course, I love it, but he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, stay with us. Plenty more coming your way. Plenty more coming your way this weekend as well. Manchester United kick off Super Sunday this weekend. They host Crystal Palace. Live coverage from Old Trafford gets underway at 12:30. Sky Sports Premier League.